So you guys are probably wondering what I thought of Sharknado 5 Global Swarming, and you'd be actually right to ask me because I have a lot to say about this movie, but I'm going to be breaking them down into little snippets because if I were to talk about each and every single one of these things in detail, we'd be here for literally until the next movie comes out, which has already been announced. Oh my god. Here we go. For the first part of this video, I wanted to criticize the tone most of all, because I think it's one of the most important factors in my review. And this movie doesn't know what it wants to be. It wants to be funny, but it also wants to be sad. And by the way, full-on spoiler alert for this movie, just so you guys know, I'm going to be spoiling it right now. This movie goes from having deaths that are absolutely hilarious to main characters being just absolutely murdered in the last few minutes of the movie. Like, legitimately, every single character in the movie, main character-wise, minus Finn. Ha ha ha, Finn, we're still going with that joke 5 episodes in, or 5 movies. I'd rather have a TV show of this. Like, I don't even understand, like, why, you know what, I'm just gonna keep going with the thing. Like, this movie does not understand what it wants to be. It doesn't know. Because it goes from having these genuinely hilarious scenes of sharks attacking people, right, where, okay, that sounds like a really, like, sadistic way of thinking, like, sharks attacking people, ha ha ha. But the way they film it and, like, the irony behind it, yeah, a lot of it's funny. But then it goes from having, like, this actual serious plot where it's trying to be taken seriously, which I do think some movies can manage to pull that off, where it's, like, jokey, but it also has a serious plot, like a dramedy sort of thing. But this movie, like, literally goes from, like, 100 to 0, and just, like, instantaneous moments. Like, you can go from laughing to, like, oh my god, what the heck? They just killed off a character from the first movie? Like, what the heck? Oh, this is actually sad. What is happening? Like, that is one of the biggest problems I had with this movie, is that it doesn't know what it wants to be tonally, and it honestly kind of ruined it a little bit for me. So the next thing on this list that I wanted to discuss is character invulnerability, and sometimes lack thereof. So this movie, literally, so the son, I cannot even remember his name, nor do I care to. I didn't really think he was that great of an actor, and that's not me, like, attacking kids or anything. Like, he doesn't get that many lines to speak, and when he did, it didn't, like, impress me in any way. That sounds really cocky for me to say, I'm sorry. Like, if you're listening to this, child actor person, you can definitely improve your work. I'm not, like, trying to berate you or, like, kind of, like, knock you down or anything like that, but I think your performance could be a little better. But that is saying a lot, because you're starting a movie called Sharknado, so, I mean, can you really work with what you're given? Like, I honest to God believe that these actors can be pretty great, but the mood that they're setting, and their tone, and, like, just with the terrible CGI and stuff, we'll get into that in a little bit, it's just very difficult to kind of believe, which I know, it's rich, it's supposed to be a joke movie, ha ha ha, but you also waste, like, 2 hours of my life, like, 5 times in a row, so that's, like, getting up to 10 hours of time wasted, and I kind of feel like I have the right to talk about something on that lines. So, character invulnerability, especially with the son in this case, he literally gets sucked into a Sharknado, and is there the entirety of the movie, basically. And then towards the end, he's, like, time traveling, and he's older than his dad, and oh my gosh. Like, where do I even begin? From the first movie of this saga, not even a saga. How much is this? A saga 6, right? This is 5 movies, so it's gonna be a saga next year, oh god. But yeah, like, this movie, he gets sucked into the Sharknado. And every other movie, like, if you get even remotely close to Sharknado or in the vicinity of it, you're freaking dead. You're boned. You're dead 10 times over if you're not a main character. And the problem with this is that there's literally nothing to be afraid of the entirety of the movie until the last 20 minutes when stakes actually get raised. And that's a huge problematic formula for me. Like, does anybody honestly believe that the kid was dead the first 10 minutes or 15, 20 minutes of the movie when he gets sucked into the Sharknado? Like, I was expecting him to be. Or at least them to bring it back in some way, shape, or form. But the way that they did it was just so stupid. Like, there's no way he could have survived that. He's like, oh my god, the energy is actually, like, balancing him, and he's like in a Sharknado. I was like, okay, I understand funny writing, I understand bad writing just to be funny, but, like I said, this is going back to the first point of this movie, or this rant, review, whatever, is that it doesn't understand what it wants to be tonally, so it's, like, funny and sad. It's jumping the shark constantly, but it also is wanting to be the serious drama in other ways. And yeah, I understand that my review sounds a little bit weird because I'm talking about a movie called Sharknado 5 Global Swarming. Trust me, good lord, I understand. But character invulnerability, and then lack thereof, the last 20 minutes when nobody's safe and everybody literally dies except for the son who gets time traveled or whatever. And then Finn, who is just alone because everyone's dead, and then he has to go back in time to save everybody. Like, you... Oh my gosh, we're going to get into this later, but just the amount of just cliches in this movie, which I understand it's a movie built around cliches, and it's got like one funny idea of sharks and a tornado. But oh my god, just rely on cliches in this movie, just too much. Anyways, we're going to be getting into new character or bad characters in the next section, so here we go. So the next thing I want to talk about in this review are bad characters, and I know, like I said, it's kind of running gag that I'm talking about Sharknado 5 Global Swarming. But, and on a serious note, let's actually talk about the characters in this movie. So, for me, two of the best characters are probably, for me, if I had to say three, I would say Finn, Nova, and his son. I think his son's name is Jack. And these aren't good characters. And that's kind of sad when I say my favorite characters are the ones that aren't even really characters. Like, yes, you have a character that are, like, put through all these, like, trials and things in his life. But I'm not learning anything about these characters. Like, Nova is the only character that honestly feels like... And Jack, and that's from the first movie. Was Nova in the first? Yeah, Nova's in the first one. She was at the bar. So, we learned that her dad, or grandpa, I think it was her grandpa, got eaten by sharks. So it's like, she hates sharks. Okay. That's good character plot development for the first movie. We're in the fifth movie here. I think she was only absent for one movie, I'm pretty sure. Which was the second one, excuse me. But oh my gosh. Like, I don't understand the character development in this. Like, the characters are so bad. Like, we have Finn. I don't even remember his plot. His plot was so paper thin and stupid that I've forgotten over the last 5 years. And I'm not, like, trying to berate the writers or anything. But honestly, like, if you want to make something that's good, has, like, a good drama, but it's also a comedy, then put some more work into developing your characters. Like, don't just say, oh, she hates sharks because her grandpa was eaten by sharks. Yeah, that's a good starting point, but why don't we actually delve into more, what was her life before the Sharknadoes? Maybe have some flashback scenes. I don't really care for flashback scenes normally. The only time I could really accept it was in Lost, was that they really built that really well, because it was like actually character development around the show, and it actually improved it. I don't know, like, what can they do about this movie to make me care about the characters more? Because when every single character ended up dying, I was like, oh no, Nova just died. Oh man, her grandpa just died to sharks. She just died to sharks too, so oh my god, that's ironic. So, like, that's all I really had to say about it. Like, I had no emotion behind it. Like, yeah, sure, it sucks that we lost a character after 5 movies, and I'm sure they're going to bring them back because they're time traveling in the next one, supposedly. But, oh my lord. Like, put some more work into your characters, please. That's all I ask. And I'm not trying to sound like I'm on a pedestal. I understand that I am sounding a little cocky. I don't want to sound douchey or anything when I'm talking about this. But it's just frustrating when it takes up 10 hours, or however long the movies are. I think they're 2 hours apiece. 5 times. I feel like I have some, like, right to say something about, like, just critiquing it. I'm not trying to sound like I'm just like, yeah, you should stop making these movies. I actually watch the movies and I enjoy myself watching them. While watching them, I mean. But the reason why I review things on this channel is not just to tear them down. It's to build them up because I respect them enough to think that they can do better. Yeah, I know it's a movie about Sharknadoes, but I feel like 1 and 2 were the best, and then it's slowly been going downhill. 4 was absolutely the worst one, in my opinion. Then 5 was funny, but with it's like kind of like, okay, we're still kind of doing this joke. But I think this series could be good. I think it could be better. And with that being said, let's go on to the next section. So for the next section of this review, I wanted to talk about the terrible CGI. And yes, I'm not going to reiterate that I'm talking about a Sharknado movie. The CGI has always been bad. But this movie brought it to a whole new level. I remember 4's being terrible as well. And, like, don't get me wrong, it's bad CGI. That makes it kind of part of the joke. It's funny. It knows what it wants to be. But like I said, with this one, it doesn't know what it wants to be. The CGI in this movie actually made me upset. We're working with, like, Spy Kids levels of CGI, but somehow worse. I have a video on Twitter of me, like, recording a section, like, a minute of the movie, of them flying, of Finn and April in a tornado or something, and they're trying to grab their son. And I was just laughing at it. And it's not, like, a funny laughter. It's just like, oh my god, what is happening? Like, somebody actually approved this. And, like I said, I don't want to sound like I'm on a pedestal and I'm, like, trying to berate people or knock them down or whatever. That's not the deal with this channel. I'm just trying to make the movie better, or future installments to be better, or directors, like, writing, whatever. I just want it all to be better. That's what I want to achieve with this channel, with the series at least, where I talk about movies. And the CGI was just bad. Other stuff wasn't as bad, and it was like the first levels of Sharknado, but I think they've kind of, like, I don't know if they lost their budget, or if they're just, like, putting more into, like, more grand scale things of, like, just random monuments being taken down, or, like, Stonehenge flying away. It's like, oh, that costs a lot more money than CGI. Like, I don't know anything about CGI. If I did, I would be a little bit more educated, and I'd probably bring more to the situation, or this video. But as just an average viewer that knows nothing of CGI, other than whether it looks good or bad, CGI in this movie was just abysmally bad. I'm sorry, it just was. Alright, so for the next part of this video, I wanted to talk about the locations in this movie, and I just wanted to say this really quickly. I think that this movie could be a lot less convoluted if there weren't so many locations in there. There were so many locations in this movie, I cannot remember all the locations. So they were... Where did they even start? I think... Didn't they start in England? I just watched this 2 days ago, and I don't remember where they started. They were in Australia. They were in Egypt. Didn't they end up in Japan at one point? There was, like, Romania. There was, like, a random country. There was a lot of places that they just went because of time travel, and yeah, okay, that's great and all. But with this movie, it was just so convoluted. There's, like, so much plot-wise going on, but then they also introduced this time travel thing where it can teleport them to any location, and they were just able to get home just fine. There was, like, literally no issue with it. Like, every time that they needed to go somewhere, this Sharknado would just bring them to where they needed to go, or just a random location that somehow worked out for them in the end. Like, I understand that, like I said, it's Sharknado, ha ha ha, no jokes. Or everything's a joke, but 5 movies in, man, I just want something with this plot. Too many locations. It was honestly convoluted for me. I sometimes would forget where they are, or sometimes I would just hop around and I'd be like, oh, wait, what, they moved before? Oh, we're in a new location. Okay, we're in Egypt now. Okay, whatever, I'm just gonna go with it. I freaking guess. Good lord, man. Okay, so for this section of the video, I wanted to talk about the positives of Sharknado, and I wanted to bring this up because it's actually a pretty decent achievement for this movie, in my opinion, in that it actually improved from the last movie. Sharknado 4 was one of the worst movies, not that only that I've ever seen, but definitely the worst in the entire series. It was Sharknado 4, by the way. It was boring, CGI was bad, so much was happening that it just gave me a headache and I had to shut it off multiple times. And the only time Sharknado 5, when I turned off the TV, is when I accidentally fell asleep and I woke up and I had to restart like 50 minutes in. To rewind, I mean. That was the only time in Sharknado 5. Sharknado 5, yeah, it was overwhelming with the stuff they were putting on the screen. But it wasn't as bad. I don't know what it was about Sharknado 4 that just pissed me off like it did. But I think it was just a mixture of characters and just bad plot and also just CGI. Everything about it, like, even in this movie, like, it has all the same things. But Sharknado 4 was just boring for me. Sharknado 5 improved that for me. Just with all the things I just mentioned. It just made it more watchable. I was able to sit through in one sitting, minus me falling asleep for a few hours, because I freaking fell asleep. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm a night owl, so sometimes I'll pass out. So, with this movie, it was a lot more entertaining than 4, so I will give it that compliment. It's not like anything to go with your money and run with. It's not like the greatest compliment ever, but I thought it was at least worth noting, so we can have somewhere to, like, kind of go by if you wanted to watch these. I would say first one's probably the best, second's okay, pretty good. Third one is okay. Then I'd say I go with this: 1, 2, 3, 5, 4 would be like the one I wouldn't even recommend even at all. I complimented it, guys. I complimented it. So if you like this video and like my critiques of this movie, let me know in the comment section down below. Of course, my critiques aren't going to be 100% or going to be the best thing that's ever appeared on YouTube or in the film industry. I just thought it would be worth sharing because this is what I recently watched. I have a lot more movie reviews and TV reviews coming out soon, so I hope you guys can stay tuned, subscribe for that sort of jazz. And anyways, guys, I want to thank you so much for watching this. It means the world to me because I spend a lot of time uploading, editing, stuff like that, live streaming, doing Let's Plays. I just do so much of this channel, and on top of that, I'm also working college, not working like IRL, like not a job, but going to college full time, so that's really stressful as well. And then also trying to balance a social life on top of that is pretty difficult, I have to say. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Sharknado 5, global swarming. Was it good? Was it bad? It was It wasn't like I had to shut it off because it was so bad. But it wasn't entertaining enough, if that makes any sense whatsoever. I think this movie needs to understand what it's going for. Tonally is one of the biggest problems I had with this. Is it supposed to be a drama? Is it a comedy? Is it a dramedy? If it wants to be a dramedy, balance that well. Have some characters that actually mean something, but also in a comedic way. That's what I think Sharknado 1 did the best. It didn't do it great, but it did it the best of the series. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching this video. I know I said it like 20 times already. Keep calm and trust your instincts. Let the outro roll.
I'm walking alone, the streets are empty. The only thing I can see is my own silhouette. I'm getting stronger, step by step. The clock is ticking, but there's no time for regrets.